All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. We're gonna have fun today. This is a little workshop to explore, discover, and resolve internal dilemmas. And so, for those of you who didn't or weren't here last time, or or didn't watch the replay from the last video, this is just something, as an analyst, I've been a certified analyst for about 8 years. I'm a 3-5. I'm here to see what doesn't work. And as I settle deeper into my design, it seems to be I'm just witnessing that I see what does work by recognizing what doesn't work. And it's the by seeing what doesn't work, the dilemmas and why our minds kind of settle to seeing everything except what's really good for us. you know, we tend to just not. We've conditioned ourselves to ignore our inner authority or outer authority, or to recognize what that even feels like. So I've starting to notice some consistency in that process, which is typically we tend to put the emphasis on obviously our open centers. What are all the things that can throw you off? It could be your openness. It could be, if you get into the deeper stuff, your transference, or the things that throw off our cognition, our correct cognition, our splits. If you have a split, we tend to put value on the places that are the area, the part of our definition that's not where our authority is. So all these things. So let's have fun and just look at what we can see with pointing out everything that might be someone's experience, and most likely, year after year after year after year, it's just validated that that's just the way the mind works. The mind tends to focus on everything except what's really the best for us. So until it gets easier and easier. So I think I have close to 10 charts ready to go here. So we'll see how far we get. Okay, let's more focus on quality over quantity, because then we can take the lessons and extract it looking into our own life. So hey, welcome, Jonah. We're good on the record here, just so you know. And hey, all my new and old friends that have showed up today. So let's see, Nicola, you're here today. Okay, great. From Australia. We're gonna just dive right into into Nicola's chart here. So we have a 4-6 splenic projector. Nicola, do you want to, or Nicola, kid, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Sorry. Would you like to share anything first about, human design? It can be human design, very specific, or just, let's just talk like humans too. Like what's going on in your life? Is there something that feels like a problem to you?
Oh, I knew this was going to be perfectly timed. Yeah, so I got a this is just real. So I got a bird about a week and a half ago to add to me and my pug, and I really tried to take. I'm splenic, as you can see. I tried to take time to make the decision to get it. I really wanted it, but I was a lot of fear in me, and I I'm worrying that I've made the wrong decision. I don't know. I couldn't tell. I was trying to tune in and see, like, what's my feeling cognition saying? Like, what is my spleen trying to say about this? Because it's such a huge commitment to get a bird. And I just couldn't tell. And I went ahead and I got it. And it's getting better, but it was really rocky. And I've been sort of moving through feelings of feeling sort of quite disappointed in myself, and um, I'm just hoping that we're all gonna make our way through it. But that's sort of like the most present thing. And then just one other thing that I might add is my work requires me to sit down and sit still for a while, and I do scribing work, so I have to sit and listen for hours to people interviewing and take notes, and then I have to go away and sit and analyze all the notes and put them into reports. And I have sort of anxiety that comes up through that, almost like this resistance. And unless I leave it to the very last minute and try not to let my open route get the better of me, then I can just sit down and do it because I have to do it. So those are kind of the two things that are really not feeling right in my life at the moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so just to clarify, you made an addition to your family, you bought another animal, and you're not sure if that was the right decision or not. And
Yeah, I'm oh, my dog just fell off the bed. Um sorry, I'm gonna turn my camera in a sec. Um yeah, yeah.
well,
I
let's start with that.
yeah,
Why don't we start with that one?
sure.
Um,
Thank you.
and
They're a lot of work, right? And I'm like, I'm a projector.
mhm. Well, I guess the first thing I would ask is, d did it feel like a mental decision to get the bird? Was there a story there that you felt like you needed more company, or your dog needed a buddy, or um, was
There,
there?
yeah, there was some element of that, and I think that's what scares me the most is I didn't it felt a little bit whimmy, but I did really, really want it, but it was just really hard to kind of parse through it. And I think that's my biggest fear is like, fuck, have I gone from the mind to make this decision? And it's going to be a bit of an expensive lesson. And I'm going to have put myself and this poor little bird through all of this because I was a bit silly. So there's a bit of guilt coming through in that, I think, as well.
Hmm. Well, for the sake of keeping things simple, right, today,
Hmm.
since there's so many things we could look at, obviously you can dig into a chart for hours and hours and a whole lifetime. Is I guess I would just say start looking at the open centers. Was there, and also we could maybe apply this to other things in your life. Is this the kind of thing, is this a consistent dilemma where the openness overwhelms the definition, overwhelms the authority? And so there's obviously a big piece of you know recognition and invitation as a projector. So it might be interesting to think about when you add a family member. How does that, what's your process in that? Is there some kind of invitation or recognition feeling that I'm the one? Yes, this bird needs me. This bird wants me to take care of it. Or is this, are you trying to solve other people's problems and answer other people's questions? And I
Mm.
mean, keynoting this whole chain here of, well, chain meaning just this whole central column here. You're under a lot of pressure to solve all these problems and get attention with the wrong people and exhaust yourself, and it's probably being driven mentally. I mean, so I would say that's probably the biggest dilemma: is it the mind, or is it your instinct? You have
Mm.
3/4 of this instinctual, tribal, caring. You're a caretaker. You're probably here to probably feel like you're here to care. I mean, the spleen is caring. So, um, and this mental stuff can really amplify the spleen and the splenic center, and reasons. It always comes up with reasons why I should do this or why I shouldn't do that. So,
Mm.
um, I think you have to be careful with reasons. I mean, getting to know for anybody, especially I see it especially with this channel of surrender. This takes, and as a projector in general, it takes a while to kind of get this back online. It's really easy to override this to override this with mental reasoning. So
Yeah.
not necessarily saying you made the wrong decision, because we can make correct decisions, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy or comfortable or fun up front. I mean,
Mm.
I said yes to a puppy last year too, and that was, I don't know what I was thinking, but so I get it. But you know, it was it was a correct choice. So, um, you know, it just, I think it just takes time to, you know, do you feel like you know your splenic voice? Do you recognize that subtle awareness? Is
Mm.
it's different for everybody. Um, it takes time to recognize it or to go against it. You know, this might be a good experience of going against it. I mean, let just for example's sake, not saying there's anything right or wrong or here. It's just for, you know, for myself, getting to know my splenic voice. I have to go against it. Like, I thought I heard it. I have to go
Mm.
against it a few times, and it usually ended up being some pretty detrimental things. So yeah, I mean, oops. Um, I think that's what I would say about that right now. It's just something more to contemplate, because there's just, you just have so much openness. So there's, I
Mm.
mean, we can dig into lots of things here, but as a probably the primary dilemma would be your, you know, really just getting to know these signposts of your openness. I love, yeah, signposts, right? Um,
Yeah.
May I ask a quick question about this design?
sure.
What do you, I'm just seeing the heart, the ego heart as a motor, you know, and this design has only this one channel that's connecting that motor to an awareness center.
Hmm. Hmm.
So is her splenic awareness gonna be, I mean, I guess it's a question about the 4426. It's gonna be sort of powered by
Yeah.
an
It,
ego.
I think that's a great question, Connor, and I think that's probably why, like I was saying, when I said especially when I see this channel, I think that's probably the mechanics behind that for one reason or another, because this is a motor and this is just a very subtle awareness. So if there is, even if this is a single definition, one channel chart, yeah, does that, is there something
Mm.
to do with that ego relationship that is, um, yeah, needing? Is this hijacking this? Is this saying I need to prove that I'm a caretaker? I need to prove that I have the energy to care for other people. Maybe something like that. So
Mm.
yeah, does the this egoist, you know, channel or gate, you know, does it feel like it needs to be someone for others, for your community? Did you need to save somebody?
Are you asking me? Or you just sort of throw it out there?
It's an open-ended
Right.
question,
Right. Yeah.
because you know, it could, we're not going to psychoanalyze you here, you know, too deeply. But yeah, you know, in that kind of question is, you know, did I feel like I need to, did this motorized willpower take over my caring for my tribe because of all these? Because you know, because of the pressure and because of the mind and because of the harmony, needing to find harmony, or just being with the wrong people in the wrong place. So yeah, I think we'll leave it. I think we'll leave that one at that for you to sit with. But
Thank you,
it's
Peter.
yeah, just to see what are the other places in your design that can potentially throw you off. And like Roger was pointing, yeah, you can dig deeper into your motivation, you know, that kind of thing. But I'd say, you know, keep it simple to start here. Also, your in general, one thing that we can look at, I mean, this, I think we're going to do one more, I think I'll do the same thing next month. And then what I might do is just come up with a little list of, you know, what are all the places that can distract us. Just
Mhm.
loosely saying distraction here. But like one other example is like when your personality sun is in an open center. Oh, excuse me. Oh, you know, so this is, you know, that could also be a factor there. So what would, Kristen's asking, what would be different with the 2644 with all the other centers defined, like in your design? Well, I have your design up, so maybe we can come back to that, Kristen, at the end. I think I have it as one of the, because we looked at your chart last week, so I think, but I did post it again here. So let's see who else is on the list. Sticking with all the openness here. We have Marissa. Hey, Marissa.
Hi.
Great to have you here. I'm glad you could make it. So
you.
yeah, reflector chart, obviously, reflector design. Would you like to share with us what might feel like a dilemma in your life?
Well, there's a few things right now, but the one I feel like most current that I'm dealing with is stress at work, feeling like I have way more to do. I keep falling behind because I'm choosing to like actually take the time and honor that I don't have the energy anymore. And so then it gets me in a cycle where I'm trying to catch up and then I'm trying to do more, or it feels even more difficult to get those items done. And it's just been exhausting, and I'm in this weird sleep pattern, and then when this happens I have to shut like everything out and start like seriously hermiting and like I can't take anything on, like I can't like get out of my network. I feel like I have to shut down Discord and just like ignore it, or turn off my notifications and stop talking to other people and not taking any other free time, to kind of take a break from things just because I feel like I have to focus. And then as soon as like I'll get, maybe, for example, again, Discord, if I get caught up in Discord, then I'll be even further from what I need to do because I'll get, into that cycle and like, especially if it's good stuff. Usually it is. It's like I would made some friends and stuff like that and talking to them, and then I just have to like disappear almost in order to feel like I have the capacity or the space or the room or the time to get those things done. And then I've just had some other events, particularly this last month. I've kind of disappeared. My dog had a serious event and we're still dealing with that, and it's getting me, I have to get up at like 4 a.m. every day to deal with him, and trying to get stuff done at wee hours of the night, or trying to wake up early and get them done. And I'm just in a really vicious pattern. Like I tend to get this way towards the end of the year, all the time. I knew this even before, even before I found human design. But right now I'm in a particularly stuck pattern, and I feel like I'm gonna get caught, so to speak, with the bad strategies I've been using to uh, deal with it, and there are going to be repercussions, where I feel like there are. So yeah, that's kind of like my big dilemma right now.
Hmm. Well, I don't really see a problem there. I mean, no, what I mean is, it sounds like you are aware that you are a reflector, and you're getting to know yourself as a reflector, and you have all these other things that have kind of set in motion in your life, which feel you know, feel hard.
Hmm.
Because you sometimes you have the energy for it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes, you know, you feel shy, sometimes you feel bold, sometimes you're ready to jump out, and, you know, sometimes you're always changing, and so I you know, I didn't really mean for this course to be like a, you know, what do you call it, like dear dear Susie or whatever kind of thing, where you just you know, tell me all your problems and I'll comfort you. but but that's the whole thing about our, for all of us, all the things that all these things, like when I hear you talk about these things that feel like dilemmas or problems, it just sounds like the kind of thing where, you know, we the thing is, we turn the problems in upon ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, like, this is my fault that I don't have the energy for this. This is my fault that, you know, I just want to, like, when I hear you say I want to go run and hide and shut off and turn off the things, I'm like, yeah, do it. That sounds great. That sounds healthy. That sounds exactly like what you should be doing. It's just, you probably end up turning that in upon yourself and thinking that that's a problem. But I can't think of anything that probably is more healthy for a reflector, is just to get away from everyone and come back to yourself. But
Maybe,
yeah, Roger.
maybe
um
the problem is I feel, again, using the Discord example, or like it's the friends thing, like, oh, I mean, I know the right people understand, and the right people already know that I can do this, should I say. um, but I
mhm,
still have this, uh, concept that, like, I'm not being fully present with them, or I'm not giving back, what they may have given me, or I mean, if something comes up, like say for my mom, like I'm always there. She'll call me, and I'm there, and I can do the thing. But I just get in this mode where um the work that I feel like I am supposed to be doing just gets so overwhelming. And I do think part of it is probably the acceptance that it's just part of my process, is just cycles that I'm gonna go through, and it's pretty typical. And I run out of energy, and
mhm.
um, I
Yeah.
just keep up.
Peter, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, let's look at profile real quick. For reflectors, themes, and the first thing that jumps out to me is look at all our lines. Look at how heavy lower trigram that is.
Yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
very interpersonal. So your comment about spot on was what I wanted to say, was directly spot on. Run and hide might be the correct thing, or
Mhm.
feeling that way anyway, or feeling that energy. So I
Mhm.
noticed that theme right away when I looked at your chart, Nicola. You have a lot of lower trigram in your lines.
This is Marissa.
Oh, Marissa, I'm sorry. Names 3-5.
No worries, no worries. Well,
There's-
you know, when expand it out to when we say we try to be everything that we're not. You're a reflector.
Yeah, yeah.
You need time, you need space, you need lack of, you don't need to be pressured. So we all come into our experiment and whatever, try to be manifestors. We all go, oh shit, how did I get here? How did I get into this job, relationship, living situation, whatever? And how can I get out as quick as possible? And until we try that out and go, oh, I guess I can't get out of here with my mind. I have, and especially when you are really anyone. I mean, I was gonna say, a reflector or very open non-sacral being or something. It takes time to learn. Your mechanics are very different. Very very different way of operating in this world. So that's why I just think the dilemma is you're not a manifester, you're not a generator, and you're not a projector. and I think just, and there's not a lot of very deep, effective, super supportive stuff for you guys, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
It's being worked on.
it's being worked on. Roger's working on that.
Thanks, Roger.
And some other reflectors for sure. So
And
that's why I would just say go easy on yourself, and try not to turn it in upon yourself, and get to know your decision making process as outer authority. As you need allies, you need people to talk you need to soundboard things out, to hear what's really real for you. I bet even just talking this out today was probably helpful, just to go, wow, oh God, I'm being really hard on myself, or whatever it might be, when really you don't need to be. It's just, you're different, and we're all different, but your authority process it's a process. So, and yeah, that might be the dilemma, is come back to get to know yourself as a reflector, and whether that's tracking the transits, or just backing away from everything, or having the right allies to talk things out over time.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think you're spot on, and I feel like I know that, and it's just one of those things I just keep coming back to. I think my root is one of the most difficult centers for me, and there's an acceptance, and I think maybe again just worried that the world or the friends or my network isn't accepting of the same, so yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, is they may or they may not.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Open. You said your root. I mean, you have this one thing that's pointed towards your. This is all pointed towards your wide open solar plexus. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and this, that's a big one. Not knowing how to process, not having any context for knowing how to process disharmony in
Right.
In your bonds. So that's going to feel really uncomfortable to say no, or whatever. Yeah,
Peter?
Roger. Mm-hmm.
If people aren't willing to wait for us as reflectors, they're not correct for us. And that's one of the hardest things that I've had to come to grips with over the years, Marissa, is I carry a lot of manifesting channels, I don't carry the channels, I have the activations. It is so easy for me to initiate and do all these things. But at the end of the day, if people aren't gonna wait for me even at the front end, they're not gonna wait for me through the process. So
Right.
I've found over my years, it's best to just let that go. And it's hard to come to grips. We're so inconsistent, but we're supposed to be. And
Right.
that I still struggle with even to this day, 12 years later. It's how inconsistent I am, because I know what I can do. But I choose to follow my strategy and authority instead. So,
Right. I think people around me are, for the most part, accepting of that time and space, for the most part. I just struggle when it comes to something like my job, where it's like,
Me
these
too.
like I have a project cycle type job, you know, project oriented, and so there's always, you know, everything going in back and forth and constantly, and it's just rough. And I feel like I'm at a point right now, like I used to be like over the top about deliverance and stuff like that and just work my ass off until I was sick. I was sick like
We're
once
good
a
at
month,
that.
you know. And now that I've given my space, I'm much more healthy and all that, but then mentally I'm like, oh my god, I didn't meet that deadline, or shit, I'm over budget, or you know, like this. And I'm afraid that the hammer's going to come down eventually, even though, you know, I've basically built a family there. I've been at my
Yeah.
company for a long time, like 15 years. And I'm a graphic designer. So I get a lot of the variety, different projects, and that's what keeps it interesting. And I think it's fitting for, you know, a reflector, thing like
Very
that.
much relate. My route's even different than yours. I have no activations and no harmonics except for one. And I was in construction for almost 30 years in project management meetings with those deadlines and all that pressure. I get it.
Yeah.
We're not wired for those pressured deadlines like that, and we can become the super slave. So yeah, it
Indeed.
comes down to energy management. Like Peter was saying at the beginning, it's probably correct. You're a 2-4. You're a hermit opportunist, right?
Hmm.
It probably feels natural to you to kind of hide away in
It does.
those situations. I get it. It's 100%, but be kind to yourself. I mean, I just wanted to leave you with that message. We are inconsistent, period. There's no, we
And
are
we
inconsistent.
all have our own process of settling into the magic of waiting. You
Yeah.
know, waiting, everyone has to wait, and waiting is not comfortable. And so part of our experiment is learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable periods until, you know, that's being a nine-centered being, is that's settling into being a nine-centered being and not letting this seven-centered strategic propaganda guide our process. So you know, knowing it's going to come, but in each have our own process of how it comes. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome everyone who's been jumping in here. All right, Senior Dave, welcome, good to see you, brother.
What's going on? I just accidentally like switched to a different microphone, which is so embarrassing. Can you hear me?
You sound just fine. You sound like yourself, man. Nothing to be
Okay,
embarrassed about.
cool.
So yeah, before we get into the mechanics, do you want to share what feels like a kind of a consistent dilemma in your life? Or
I mean, the consistent one lately is a lot to do with just how to make a living without hating my life.
Mhm.
And I've been able to sort of like hang on to like an opportunity that I'm milking, and something else is gonna have to happen soon. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Mhm. Well, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us can relate can relate to doing work that we don't love to pay the bills. You know, when I first looked at your chart, this is a good example of when you see. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but when you see a split like this, where someone is emotional but also splenic. Well, I'll go into this, and then maybe we'll tie this back into your specific situation to see if this shows up here. What I notice when people are emotional, which we know, you know, we got the wave, it takes time. You got to ride your wave, and um, and then versus splenic, which is existential in the moment, you know, spontaneous, and we know that the not self in the emotional center wants to be spontaneous, impulsive, and you're a manifester. So yeah, is there a thing about your relationship to the spontaneity, to the and the justification of that's what I see a lot when this we find ways to value our intuition or our insights and want to blurt them out or want to manifest somehow, want to take action because we're picking up on something in the moment. Is that maybe how you got into that situation where it suddenly, you know, did you enter into that situation correctly, or was it a more of a spontaneous impulsive kind of thing?
Which situation are you talking about? I mean, like I'm just like I don't know. It's the splenic part of it has been a big part of like why there's been a lot of opportunities that I've not ended up doing because I'm emotional and like in the moment it seems like, oh cool, somebody like is talking about giving me money to do something that I'm capable of doing, and be like, this is great, but then it doesn't happen, or I just don't have the energy for it, or I don't have a yes for it. And that's a big part of why I'm still where I am. I'm like good at stumbling, just luckily stumbling through life right now. And it, this is one of those times where it's like, oh shit, where's that next stumble gonna be? Because I need another one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nerve-wracking to go through that, But that's the thing. It's like, okay, don't get mindy. Just tell myself to shut up about it. Like everything somehow has worked out so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Well,
That's my life.
I mean, yeah, you're not only are you a manifester, you're a five, being a 5-2. I mean, that's all about being self-motivated. Yeah. So,
And like Ross said, you make money with your third lines. I only have one, and it's in detriment. And it's an obnoxious one.
yeah, I kind of take the third line, this thing that your third lines are where you make all your money. I personally take that with a lightly, because this is your definition. I mean, you're clearly here to. I mean, I would call this a double-fisted man. You're a double cannon manifester.
Double barrel is the term.
Double barrel. Okay.
And I didn't make it up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, this is a powerful design, and so I think even being emotional, it just takes time to get to know ourselves as emotional beings, to get to know. I'm not emotional personally, but for the people I know who are in their experiment, it takes time to get to ride those waves, and not only you're waiting for clarity, but you're waiting for your own, you're waiting to seduce yourself to bring out your natural talents. Is there, I don't know, is there something you feel in your openness that, maybe this open heart, if you look at the high conditioning hierarchy, the open heart, does that feel in contrast to your fifth line nature calling out your second line unconscious, going where you're going, you can't do that, you're not good enough for that? Does that stop you a lot?
Huh. Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, bridging gates. That's a good point.
But also, it's like it's one of those things that I can see trying to tempt me into things that might not be correct. You if you do this, you'll prove that you can do it, and it'll be a good, um, a good career move to say yes to this, or it would, but then I don't have the actual willpower to do it.
Um, I have two things that just popped into my head. Well, one was, yeah, Nathan had a good point about, bridging gates in general. Yeah, what are all the places that we would look?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Split. It's probably looks like that would be the primary split there.
The
Yeah,
55 and the 30. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Two different speed limits that you see often while driving.
But the main thing that popped into my head was kind of like we were looking at with Marissa is you're a manifester, you're a 5-2, all these things we just pointed out. Why are you still and you're still working for other people?
Exactly.
Hardly. I mean, I'm like taking clients somehow.
So I
Doing
guess
like video editing, which I don't really like doing for other people. Like it's not a thing I'm passionate about, but it's like I can sort of get into it enough to make impactful stuff for other people. But yeah, those bridge gates are a bitch.
so what would that feel like for you as a as a 55 or 30 bridging gate? I mean, it's interesting. Both of these you would have those full streams. So there's this definitely a pressure there.
And that spleen just like wants to get up to the throat so bad. But yeah, that 30 is kind of the one that really gets me because the experiential way is just sitting right there. And I'll get, the lesson is always like not to have expectations about something because it's never going to be how I think it's going to be. And not, to let the fantasy just be a fantasy and I'm going to end up in experiences anyways, but there's like all this prompting for disappointment going on with that 30 bridge gate, and I have to just like, I don't know, it ends up being an exercise in like just going with the flow, which is great. That's what it's all about.
Or in even just the expectations, that 30th gate, things always work out differently than you think they're going to work out. Just put it in the simple way is just managing your expectations to the all the experiences that you get into with yourself or others.
At first when I started doing this, like I thought that there was like something about like the fantasy had to do with like creativity and the desire had to do with like I thought that it was like I convinced myself at these bridge gates, like the passion and the desire, like it was all of my creativity came from my not self, and that I was like I was trying to be these things that were making me, this creative person that I really wasn't. That's what scared the shit out of me early on. But it isn't quite that anymore.
Well, I'm not getting a lot of big hits about this except what we really pointed out, which is being careful to let the yeah, the spontaneity, the expectations, the bridges, these open centers, and 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 also and also what is as your definition, which is, I mean, this with this double barrel manifestation and the 5-2, this, I just feel like if you can find the right impact, the right mutation, the right
Right?
Yeah, you're
That's the
always
thing. I'm very economic with my inspiration. I'm just like, it has to, if it's not super impactful, it's like I'm just waiting for that one thing that's gonna require the least work and the most inspiration.
Mhm. And maybe you do need to find the right people to, if it's not the right time to be fully self-employed, then
Right?
your openness can also be to your advantage too. Maybe you do need to find, the right people to inspire you, to give you some, a little boost without without it being a dominating or power
Yeah.
thing.
I don't mind like having a teamwork thing going on.
Well, I mean, just yeah, but seeing it that way, the Open G Center, feeling a little lost. And that feeling might just be there for. Do you see that in yourself? Do you how's that Open
Sure.
G feel to you?
And
Like,
it's one of the more perceivable open centers for sure.
mhm. Yeah, no matter how hard you mentalize it, it's always going to feel like maybe you're not in the right place with the right people. Um, and as long as you don't turn that in upon yourself, yeah, everything takes time. Well, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Let's see. All right. Joy, are you here today? Don't see Joy. I don't think she made it here today. Teresa, I see you there. Let's
Hey,
see if we can get through a few more. Hey, good to see you.
good to see you.
All right. So, single definition, a lot going on. Um, okay. Would you like to share what might feel like a dilemma in your world?
Sure. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like everything you've been talking about so far has been relative to me as well. And um, I feel pretty settled in my body with everything, but I guess more my dilemma is just still watching my mind and noticing what comes up on a consistent basis in my mind. I know it's going to sound weird, but I feel like I've been going through this phase of probably over the last year of kind of grieving who I was before I found design and before I started deconditioning. Um, like it's almost like when I look back to who I was doing so much. I was so driven. I was accomplishing a lot. I was building a lot. And then it feels like as soon as I started deconditioning, everything kind of slowed way down, which is great because I'm emotional and it needs to go slower. But I think my mind is having problems with that because it's really comparing who I am now to who I was, 6 years ago. And using that as ammo against me of just like you're capable of so much more, why aren't you doing more, you could be doing so much more. And so that's just kind of my constant not self-talk, which I mean my open ego is obviously at the top of that hierarchy. So
Yeah, let's point out all the things we can see here. So your generator nature and your emotional nature, your strategy and authority are all unconscious. And so that's one thing there. And then this is also, I don't know if I would necessarily call this a dilemma as much as a thing, which is you would have what I would call a complex single definition, where here's your strategy, here's your authority, but we got to go down here and up to here, and this is trying to get to here, and then we go back up to your emotional manifestation, and oh yeah, but wait, don't forget about your channel of awakening, and then also your mind's going to put its input in. So it's like almost every single one of these things is like a process where it's not quite like it really all comes down to the emotional center, to being emotional authority, which is, even though we call single definitions and manifesting generators are technically, you would think, oh, a single definition manifesting generator like myself is pretty fast, can be fast, if you're doing things what you love, you can skip steps and all the stuff. But I don't think that totally applies to your situation. And it's not that it's something else, it's its own thing, meaning it's a complex emotional manifesting process, which is also taking input in these kind of other pathways, kind of like side pathways here that are trying to get their input into this. I mean, if it was just the 59.6 and the 12.22, it would be a very different story. But this is so I mean, do you identify as being emotional? Which also might mean, are you comfortable with waiting? There's also the same thing we just looked at, like with Dave, where there's this over here might be going, come on, let's just snap your fingers. Let's just get this done. I can get, spleen to the throat. That's all I need is that 57. It's almost like, I wouldn't call it, it's not a bridge, but it's a shortcut. The mind wants shortcuts. It's not even a term we use, but I think we can coin it right now. The mind wants shortcuts, especially when you have these. I see this a lot where it's like there's a whole pathway to get to. Well, sometimes it's more complex. Sometimes I'll see something like it goes over here and then goes down here and then goes up to here, then to here, then and that's a process. Here it's more like you really have this kind of direct manifestation, but there's just all this other input coming in, potential spontaneous pathways that don't want to wait for clarity and just want to pressure you to figure it all out right now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever mentioned that about my chart. So that's really nice to hear, because I've never really, I could see definitely my past self, how the MG, like I could just kind of force things out. But things always take time for me. It's always a long process, and it never feels like it happens fast. So.
And let's see. Well, and then of course, your open center. So, a wide open heart is just really interesting too, because like you're saying, it's just this one, wide open hearts. What I've seen is that this one is just very invisible to other people. Other people, oh yeah, Teresa's got her podcast and she's got her stuff together and whatever. And and part of you's going, whatever that whatever that voice says, is that kind of like what you were saying, is maybe just feeling really hard on yourself about, gosh, I thought I was following my heart, getting into human design, and now here I am, just what have I become? Who am I? What do I have to show to the world right now?
Yeah.
So let's see what else could we see there, but something about the profile there, you know. Yeah, maybe you just want to be a hermit for a while. Maybe you want to get to know your wave a little more, and not, maybe your wave is a really long, slow wave, you know. It's just
Teresa's got like every gate in the solar plexus but the 49.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you know, yeah, each one of those is going to have its own process. Yeah, and adding on, you know, is this really in line with my values? Your mind, you know, whatever your mind has to say all about all of it. What's going on here? Yeah, that's I guess that's the first thing that jumps out at me with
Yeah,
all that.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's very validating, and even just to like talk about it and hear it reflected back to me in that way is really nice. Because yeah, it just seems like um yeah, over the last like 2 years probably I've just really kind of pulled back from a lot of things, and it feels like getting to know my emotionality is a full-time job in and of itself. So I feel like I'm kind of just like scraping by and devoting a lot to that, and yeah, just really seeing what emerges. So
Yeah, like when I was saying you have a getting to know your wave, it might just be, it's like getting to know your waves. I mean,
mhm.
here's your 36 design sun. This is your authority one. I mean, this is connecting you to your generator nature. Yeah, I mean, these all just play such a huge role in your life. So it's more that they're all different waves. Um, you know, so the way that I typically illustrate something like that is, you know, here's one of them, and then here's kind of another one kind of going here, and then here's another one going here, you know. It's like, you know, this is the thing with work, and this is the thing with your family, and this is the thing with your partner, and this is, you know, there's all these things that are going on, and so when you're trying to make a decision about something right around here, it's like there's 5 other voices in my head right now, you know.
Yep.
And so you know, and then here they are, all these different things, and so getting to know your wave means time, you know, consistency. Like, this one's going to fizzle out after a while, you know, this one's going to fizzle out. Yeah, each one of them's going to have their own process, and you're looking for what really lasts, what's over here down the road, a week, a month, a year, 3 years, you know. So, but the thing is, once the clarity comes, once there's just that one moment, boom, you know, it's just gonna, once all this aligns through your correctness and not trying to figure it out with your mind. Yeah, I think we need, especially emotional manifesting generators. I kind of don't feel that they have this. Yeah, they can skip steps, but it's so much different than a 3420 or you know, any of the other motors to the throat as an MG. This one just really has, and it's not about, it's an emotional motor. It's not a willpower or, you know, sacral or, you know, adrenaline. You know, it's emotional. So it's not going to have this. It's not about being quick. It's not about skipping steps. It's about being clear, and that takes time. But once the clarity's there, then you can have the impact. So it's.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
don't think there's. I think emotional manifesting generators are just like a whole other type of manifesting generator,
I agree.
and don't really fit into the 3420, you know, manifesting generator definitions.
Yep, totally.
Awesome. Well, thanks,
Well,
Teresa.
thank you. Appreciate your feedback.
You bet. Um, yeah, just like I said, just pointing to things out and naming them and seeing where we think they're a problem. That's the thing is that's what a dilemma feels like. That's what a dilemma is. What we think is a problem, but it's really not, you know? Um, so let's do one more. Let's see. I put these in just a random order. Sirach, are you here today, brother? Okay. Sirach is not here at the moment. We looked at his last week anyway. Okay. Moksha.
Oops,
Sandra.
hi.
Hi, Sandra. All right.
Hey.
So, tell us about you and what might feel like a dilemma in your life.
So I think it's been very resonant, a lot of the topics today, which I appreciate everybody sharing about. A lot of it has been speaking to some of my experiences as well. I think or feel there's kind of two things. One is the Saturn return and the just immense intensity that just doesn't seem to stop, and handling that in a good way. And then there's the more mundane thing, which has to do with place and work and these things. I didn't really work for the past 2 years, which has been nice. And I'm in a bit of a weird spot right now where I kind of need to have an income and yeah, these things.
Okay. So the dilemma, what's the dilemma? It feels like you don't want to go back to work?
Well, kind of. I mean, right now I'm living in a friend's house on an island, and I've lived on this island for a year. I came here for 1 month, but I just didn't want to leave. It felt like a good place to be. And as I've lived here, I've seen so much, and I have a very different perspective on this place than I had when I first arrived, but I still don't feel like it's finished. I tend to feel a pull or that there is some direction coming from outside when it's time to go somewhere else, and that's not happening. So there has been an opportunity for work that I can do from home, which seems kind of nice, but it also makes me feel a little bit anxious and stressed about losing free time and these things.
Yeah. Okay, so you are a projector. You're a splenic projector on the cross of individualism, right? This is cross of individualism.
Yeah.
These are all okay. So she's got all these individual gates as her incarnation cross. One individual unconscious definition, partially, red and black, partially conscious. And you're a 6-2. So, and you were talking about the Saturn return. Are you
Yeah.
are you on the roof?
It hit in March, so definitely not.
Okay, well, you're so there's this pressure to get back out in the world, and you're just going up on the roof. And yeah, 39.6, like, is this even worth it? to
Yeah.
So, one thing I just want to point out about a theme that's jumped out at me today with several charts, and I'll come back to this, is um, a lot of second line stuff coming up today. I think everyone we looked, well, let's see, Nicola was a 4-6. Let's see, Marissa 2-4. Dave was a 5-2. Teresa is a 2-4. You're a 6-2. that's another thing about the second line is it's unaware of itself. And I just in terms of dilemmas here, maybe it's a little different when it's in the design side, but maybe not. It's like you don't, maybe even more so when it's on the design side, or less so in terms of you have these natural talents that you don't even see in yourself. Other people see them in you, and um, and that comes with its own set of projections where like someone like Dave, a five twos, they don't know where their talents come out. When they come out, it's in everyone. Everyone wants you to do your circus act. Whoops. And you can't just do it you can't just bring it out when you don't want to. It's got to come out correctly. So that's, and yeah, second lines almost just are unaware of themselves in a way. There's an element of just not even seeing something in yourself that other people see in you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that just kind of jumped out at me today as something that keeps showing up. Is the second lines might just need a little bit more encouragement or reflection, or something that aligns with your process to an ally to pull things out of you, or to ask you questions, or to remind you of things, or I don't know. I'm speaking just more in the human side of just having that second line. And what I see in the second lines of my life is, yeah, how does that unawareness of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's the outward projection of the second line. You don't even see your own natural talents. That's what you're unaware of, is your natural talents. You're talented people. And so but coming back to you, Sandra, as a 6-2, is it really worth coming off the roof for, or I mean, maybe you're just really ready to get on the roof. It sounds like you're not sounds like you're pretty comfortable and complete with your individual process there. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind my life so much. I mean, there's always been a lot of freedom in the sense that I take on gigs that I can leave when it feels like it's time to go. Yeah, I don't know.
well, maybe you're
There's
just
a lot
still
of
waiting for the right
isolation.
invitations. I mean,
Yeah.
this 5720 loves to it's connected to the throat. There's a wiring to the throat. It's an unconscious wiring to the throat. You're going to want to let's just say be a generator. You're just going to want to guide people. You're going to want to initiate, or manifest. You're going to want to be a manifester. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Is you're going to want to make things happen by telling people your unique way of seeing things as a cross of individualism, and yet you just still have to wait for the right invitations. This channel picks up on things, and with two open, what I see, I have the same thing. I have this channel and two open head centers. So you can think that it's a great idea, or you're picking up on something, or it's an intellectual thing, or it's all your, this is why it's called the channel the brainwave, because I think we mix it up with the brain a lot. We think that our intelligence is mental intelligence, and when you have two open head centers, you're going to overcompensate in mentally. So and that might get kind of woven in, a little convoluted into your sharp intuition in the moment, thinking that you need to share what you need to share, you need to guide or manifest. when it's just, there's a timing to all of it.
Mm.
And there's timing is the invitation and the recognition, and yeah.
I guess if I had a question more specific, it would be like, what's the general recommendation of taking on work for the sake of having some stability in terms of income versus just like, let's wing it for as long as possible, but then having the result to be moving back in with mom, you know? Yeah.
Join the club. I think that's what pretty much everyone here is trying to figure out.
Yeah.
How can I live totally authentically and not, sell my soul here? But it's sometimes it's a leveraging process, and specifically what I mean by that is you got to do the work. You got to recognize the open centers and see uh, let's just say you just got to clean up your frequency so you end up getting the right the right invitations, and that's just something that just takes time. And that's why you do what you can, and then a better invitation is going to come. I mean, I don't think just because I'm an MG, I don't think I have a particular advantage with that. I took when I came into human design, I realized I was working at a job where I was trying to prove I knew everything so I could be someone important in this world. And yeah, my first instinct, like I was saying earlier, was, jump online and try to manifest something else to get myself out of here. And then I realized I can't do that. I gotta wait. And then I got an invitation to teach to teach somewhere. It wasn't the perfect job, but it was a little better. And then from there, 3-5, I got hereticized at my teaching job. I got kicked out, and it was the perfect jump for me to take the leap and start my own start working for myself. And I don't know, it's, we all want to be so perfect and for it to look so perfect right away, but I think we just have to take one step at a time. That's my very human outlook on how do we incorporate this into our lives. And
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna have just I love cross of individualism. You guys are so different, so different in your own unique way that you tell us. I come back in 3 years and tell us how did this unfold for you? What kind of interesting invites did you get? And how did you deal with that by just as you wanted to go up on the roof, or not wanted to, but ended up on the roof.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, nothing's black and white here. It's just that's the fun I'm having here, that you guys can just take this and see what are the places maybe somewhere you didn't look at before, where, like I said, what are we turning into a problem where it really doesn't have to be? We're so hard on ourselves, and we come into this, or 30, 40, 50 years old. It takes time to decondition. It takes, and we just want to go right into the deep, juicy stuff and have a perfect life. And being a 9-centered being isn't about being happy. Maybe that's not the right way to say it. It's not about our life looking a perfect way. It's about awareness. It's about awareness. So, yeah, that's the magic of being a 9-centered being, is seeing what there is to see there. So, all right. Any last comments, questions, complaints?
Just a thank you.
My pleasure. So we'll do this one more time. We'll do the same time, second Wednesday, 1 p.m. next month, and then I'll probably shift gears and do something different with you guys. So it's fun. Thanks, Jonah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, get you guys the recording here soon. Take care.